What's up, guys? I'm Crystal Lee Naomi, aka Jasmine Borders on Tyler Perry's Sistas. Be sure to subscribe to the Haves and the Have-Nots review for not only reviews on the Haves and the Have-Nots, but also on Sistas. And while you're at it, give your girl a follow on Instagram at Crystal Lee Naomi. And I'll see you every Wednesday at 9, only on BET.
All right, Sisters fans, here we are, Season 2, Episode 2, entitled High Crimes. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Hit the bell notification icon. Hit all, that way you don't miss out when I post new content. And of course, subscribing does help to, hopefully get me to 1 million one day. And follow me on social media. Links are in the description below. Episode 1 I gave it 8 out of 10. And episode 2, I think I'm good with giving it an 8 out of 10 as well. I think it was a pretty good follow-up. So Karen thankfully calms Andy down. I honestly was afraid for Andy the entire time. Here's why: because it's hard sometimes not to separate real world from what's going on in a show, but to actually just see Andy, for lack of a better phrase, literally shoving and assaulting Josh, an FBI agent on the job, because she doesn't want people, she wants to get back into her apartment, even though the government has seized it. And I'm thinking, Lord, please, Andy, don't do anything, because of all the videos and all of, black people being killed by the police and whatnot. So to actually see Andy doing this, I'm like, oh, it's triggering. So yeah, that was a bit too real. Then Danny shows up, and this is where I'm like, okay, Tyler, come on now. Danny shows up, sees the situation, and the jokes ensue. Not a good time. So basically, she's going on about the gas money and everything. I mean, to be fair, I can't really blame her, because, she was in bed with her boy, and then Andy's calling for a ride, and then it turns out, oh, I already got a ride, now come over to my place. But this was not a good time. So the FBI actually pops up at the law firm. Yeah, I'm like, Josh gets around. My goodness, because one moment they're at Andy's, the apartment formerly known as Andy's. Little Prince joke there. Then they go over to the law firm, and Fatima's there. And apparently, they just want to get her belongings, Andy's belongings. But thankfully, Fatima is able to kind of, play it off like, I need to tell my boss I can't let you just roll up in here. I can't lose my job, because currently she's the only black woman working there, or one of the remaining 3 black people there. But we'll get to that in a second. But she goes to call her boss, I believe it's Bellamy. And while she's doing that, she's stalling for time, because she's like erasing Andy's hard drive and grabbing certain things like letters and basically tampering with evidence. So Fatima is putting herself in a lot of trouble right now, but she's doing it to have Andy's back. So Andy is explaining to Karen on the way to Karen. Wait, are they going to Sabrina's, right? Yeah, they're going to Sabrina's instead of Danny's place. So Andy's explaining to Karen everything about what the FBI said about Gary's crimes, and Karen's like, wait, this stuff that went down, I mean, do you think you can get arrested as well? It's almost like, when you're in a bad situation and you think you've assessed it, but then you run it by someone else, and then they tell you what they think, and it's like, oh shit, this is worse than I thought. So apparently there's a guy at her job who can help her out, and I'm like, okay, I think I know who this guy is. So Danny ends up calling Sabrina and basically trying to give her the rundown about what's been happening in regards to, the FBI was at Andy's place. Wait, what? And then we have Sabrina telling Danny that I can't be on the phone. My boss, she's here. I can't be on the phone right now. So she doesn't want to be, fired or anything, or get reprimanded. So basically from there, I think the girls, Karen and Andy are calling Danny, I guess, to tell her to like, oh, we're meeting up at Sabrina's house instead of your house, so we're going to do that instead. But basically, her boss comes in, and I believe it was stated that Sabrina's boss will be in several episodes this season. So the boss comes in and tells Sabrina about the situation involving an authorization on a specific basically, hey, that money that Andrea Barnes had to wire transfer, now that's gotten the attention of the feds, and the FBI wants to talk to you because you authorized it. and basically Sabrina is sent home. Somebody on Twitter, or actually, I'm sorry, during my live stream last night, somebody mentioned this. It's like, don't you think it's weird that Sabrina's boss sent her home and she was the only employee at a window? I laughed my ass off. That was hilarious. Sabrina's the only person in the bank, and she gets sent home. Mind you, I know that there were no other, there weren't any customers. I mean, maybe this was super early and the bank had just opened up. Maybe there were a couple people who were in their offices so they could possibly come to a window if necessary. But she's the only one, and she gets sent home. I was too through. And also, I like how, and I might do a video later this week where I talk about how Tyler Perry, and I know it's really early to give the season this much praise, but I noticed a lot of things that seem to be improvements from season one. But remember last season, this was like a running gag. Sabrina would just grab her purse and leave work almost at any given time. Like 1 minute she could be talking with Maurice, next thing you know it's like, oh, I'm going on my lunch break, or oh, I'm just going to leave. And it's like, doesn't she have a boss? How can she just leave work like that? That's what Sabrina was doing. But this time around, no, I can't even be on my phone right now. I ain't trying to get in trouble. So I guess Sabrina's boss, this was her first time in the office, because all the time she up and left last season. I don't know what the heck's going on now. But basically Sabrina gets sent home because she didn't follow proper bank protocol and procedures. Apparently her boss was saying like, well, what were the forms of ID you were given to authorize the transfer and all everything? But it's like, oh, well, it was my friend and I did this. Well, you didn't follow protocol. Now the feds want to talk with you. So Sabrina not only is in potential danger of losing her job, she gets sent home. Now the FBI wants to talk with her. Do I feel bad she got sent home? Yeah, but then again, now that I was thinking about it, Sabrina did not follow bank protocol. So I do not feel bad, because friendship, yeah, that's one thing, but at the same, it's almost like, somebody at a drive-through window hooking their friends up with like a large drink and a large fry when they ordered a small and they get caught by their boss. Yeah, you're going to get in trouble for that, because friendship or not, that's a customer that needs to be treated like any other customer so they get what they paid for. So in this case, Andy, the whole transfer and everything, because remember, Sabrina knew about it because obviously Andy at the same bank. It's like, yeah, even though that's your friend, you have to follow protocol and procedure. So I don't feel bad for Sabrina. She has no right to be mad at Andy, because even though Andy and the transfer and everything, you're the one who is supposed to follow the protocol. So from there, we get to yeah. Oh, yeah. They're at Sabrina's place because they know where Sabrina's key is. So they get there and they're drinking because Danny has a bunch of stuff stashed away from work. And it's like, you steal from job? Nope, I ain't. You can't steal from a place you work at. I mean, because they steal enough of your time as it is. But long story short, they're just drinking. Danny's joking at a bad time again. It's kind of weird because when you go back to season one, where the girls were at Andy's place, this was when Danny was pissed off because the girls were talking behind her back. She was pretty much talking about how this was at the time where Leslie dropped the bomb on Andy that Gary had been cheating on her, even though they were in the midst of an affair. And, Andy's just breaking down because she's on the verge of losing everything. And then Danny's just being see, this is the shit I don't like, because y'all don't tell me nothing. You just keep everything to yourself. And like, this is not the time. This time around, she's just joking, but it's at the wrong time. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So it's Karen, it's Andy, and it's Danny. And then turns out that I believe Danny actually noticed something that I didn't even notice, because Sabrina actually comes in not too long after that, and she's upset about the whole situation about, hey, guess what? Because of that transfer, I'm possibly am losing my job. They sent me home from work. I guess you could say the plot demanded that Sabrina get sent home right then and there, because remember, it's still early in the morning, so there's no way that the girls are just going to be at Sabrina's place all day until she got off of work. No, she had to be sent home, even though it was just awkward because she was the only bank teller at a window. And from there, let's see. Yeah, we find out the transfer was $14 million. And, Andy has a tax attorney in mind that she can get to help. And Yeah, Danny notices Karen's bloody pants. I did not even notice. And I remember tweeting that out. I need to stop giving Danny a hard time because she's noticing shit I didn't even notice. It didn't even dawn on me that Karen's pants had blood all over. I completely forgot. Literally it flew right under the radar for me. So from there we have oh yeah, Andy's calling Fatima about getting info for Mike. So again, Mike from Bruh, who we found out works in the tax attorney side of things at the law firm Andy works at, official canon. Bruh and Sisters is indeed connected. Further proof. Unfortunately, Fatima recommends, I believe Hayden was the name of the other guy. Hayden or Jaden. I'm thinking like, House of Pain. I think it was Hayden. I could be wrong. But in any case, instead of Mike, we got Hayden. So unfortunately, as of right now, Mike is still not officially in the show in terms of an appearance, but he did get his name dropped. I do not believe the actor that plays Michael and Bruh was at Camp Quarantine for Sister Season 2. So as far as I know, he's not in Season 2, but the fact that he was mentioned, that's good enough for me. So from there, we have Aaron showing up at Karen's place while Zach's cleaning the blood. Apparently, I mean, Zach was like the MVP of this episode because he was calling out Aaron on everything. Us fans like, you're never around with stuff like this happening. Like, yo, this because of you, because your ex's crazy family coming up here trying to shoot and stab people and everything. And this blood is on your hands. I'm over here at my girl's house who wants you instead of me. And I'm cleaning up my blood off her floor with pink gloves on. And long story short, he gets a phone call from Karen asking to have her clothes brought over to Sabrina's. Somebody tweeted, I was like, Sabrina, it's like your girl got bloody pants on. Don't you have like some pants or a skirt she can throw on or something? That's actually a valid point. I don't really pay attention to their body sizes, but I would think Sabrina and Karen could possibly wear similar clothes. I don't know. But in any case, we have Aaron and Zach deciding to carpool over to Sabrina's to drop off the clothes. And I'm laughing my ass off because of the whole situation where Zach's like, no. You come with me because if somebody crazy pops up, I want you to kick their ass. You be my bodyguard. I loved it. Yeah, some people feel like this scene did run on a bit too much because Zach's telling Aaron to go, but then it's like, bring your ass back here. It's like, go, bring your ass back here. But at the same time, I thought it was pretty funny because, again, it was like fourth wall breaking, like on House of Pain. I thought Ella was the MVP of last night's episode. I feel like Zach was the MVP of this episode. I honestly laughed a lot. So from there, Zach's going to grab a duffel bag, put it in with clothes, and then he's going to, carpool with Aaron over to Sabrina's. And I love how he's like, look, I got a bicycle. I ain't got no car. So let me ride with you. Again, I thought it was hilarious. So Fatima is talking with Hayden, basically trying to get help for Andy. And turns out, he doesn't want anything to do. Look. Andy's, this is some trouble right here. This is a hot situation. I don't want to be involved. And basically, it turns out Mike and Hayden are the only two black men that work there. Andy is the only black female lawyer there. And Fatima is her secretary or assistant. So basically, there's only 4 black people in this entire firm. So they're apparently, both of their mothers go to the same church, and it's kind of like her blackmail card. Like, oh, if you don't help Andy, I want to tell my mama, and she's going to tell your mama because they go to church. And he agrees to help out, and she's like, I'll make it up to you. I'm like, the way he was looking at her when she walked out, I'm like, I think I know what he has in mind. So from there, we have Maurice's place, and Calvin comes in to check in on him, and Maurice is just being Maurice, a damn fool. And Calvin, tries to invite him out to maybe, dinner or get a drink or whatever. And trying to get you back into society because you ain't got no money. You need just have some help. And basically Maurice is like, I'm trying to sit up here. I can't be out there partying. I'm trying to get disability. He's trying to melt, his injuries for what he can, but he really can't. From there, we got the girls continuously drinking, just taking all of Danny's things that she took from work. And, apparently it was stated by, I believe, Karen or somebody that they smelled a certain perfume or something on the couch, and she realized, wait a minute, that's Calvin's. And it's like, there must be the male version. Danny's like, no, that's the same perfume I wear. That's only women. And then they try to give her a hard time about Sabrina's like, I don't care. I'm done judging people and everything. And and he said that he loves me. And then Andy's like, what? So then Andy also brings up the fact that there's evidence that could help the situation. Basically everything that Leslie gave her last season. But unfortunately, it's at her apartment, which now the government owns. So she needs to call to get Leslie to see if she had backups. Excuse me. So she calls Fatima again and asks to call Leslie in order to get this information. And Danny is asking, he's like, why were you out in the boonies off of Highway 45? And then Andy explains Gary trying to move them hours away from the city and everything. And then Gary calls Karen somehow. How they get the phone number is beyond me. I mean, he said he was talking with his lawyers trying to get things straightened out, but he needs to talk with Andy. And apparently, yeah, it's like, I was set up by my ex-wife Jasmine. I'm like, wait, ex-wife? I thought they were still married. But Danny goes off on him, and this scene, it was kind of funny, but part of me is like, yo, this social distancing, could the girls end up falling on each other? I'm like, social distancing. Remember, this was filmed during the pandemic. And I did laugh when Danny's like, you're knocking over the liquor. And I'm like, okay, it was a bit too much because Karen could have easily just hung up on Gary. But in any case, I did chuckle. But from there, at the end, Danny's like, she puts on her shoes, she leaves, and then Aaron and Zach are at the door. Like, oh, you know what? I'm going to stay. Actually, I think I mentioned this either in my 1 review. I talk about Andy. I don't think she ever took her shoes off. I'm like, oh, she did a lot of walking, and it was hot. So I'm like, I thought that was pretty, like, wow, Andy's a trooper. But I think that this episode did make me laugh more than the first one, but I think the first one was a bit more solid. I did love the mic nods to bruh. But yeah, I still give it an 8 out of 10. So overall, I think Sisters had a pretty good opening to the season. It set the bar pretty not high in terms of like skyrocketing, but I thought it set the tone for the season. I thought it was pretty decent. Yeah. So I will most likely do a video about different things that I feel like improved since season 1. One thing I noticed, and I could be wrong about this, I don't think I noticed a lot of dramatic pauses for no reason. I thought that if any pauses that happened during conversations felt natural, like when Andy was talking with Josh in episode 1, or, Sabrina's reaction to Calvin saying I love you and stuff like that, it felt good. I felt like the pacing was decent. I felt like the writing was pretty solid. I know that there are some storylines people like more than others, and I can definitely see why. Give it up to Danny. Apparently she slimmed down in real life. Somebody was letting me know the Sisters were on The Real, and she talked about how she just cut certain foods out of her diet and she slimmed down for season 2, and it shows. My God, Danny, awesome, just awesome. It reminds me of Malik from House Pain, eating certain foods and then cutting out certain things, you just slim down. So kudos to you. I really like when people set a goal for themselves, whether it be financially, physically, spiritually, and then they reach those goals. So just 2 thumbs up. Just, you look good. You look good. And from there, I thought these episodes were great. So I got some more kind of like breakdown videos I'll do about Sisters, about different topics that came up in the episodes. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this, second episode of the season. And I will talk to you later. So make sure you like the video and subscribe, as I mentioned at the beginning. And if you would like to donate to the channel, feel free to do so on PayPal, Cash App, or join Patreon for as little as $1 a month.